Hi, my name is Rachel Graham, and I am here from EY and the EY student recruitment team. We are going to be at the What's Next conference next week, talking to you on Monday. We have a live slot between 2 and 3 p.m, so hopefully we'll see you there. However, today I just wanted to cover some information from us on communication skills and why we think they're important and how you can improve on these communication skills. So first of all, just a little bit about EY. So we are based in 700 locations in 150 countries worldwide. So we are a global organisation. We have around 300,000 EY people who work for us. And last year, or in 2019, sorry, we made $35 billion in revenue. So as I say, we're going to be at the fair next week. So if you want to find out more, please do come to our live session. But that's just a little bit of an insight into us as a company. We're a professional services firm, so we cover accountancy, consultancy, tax, services to our clients. So if you want to find out more, come and speak to us next week. So what I'm going to speak about is what it means to recruit based on strengths. So we are a company that recruits based on strengths. This means that we are not looking for you to have studied a particular degree or to have, specific work experience. However, we are more looking for you to be able to speak about the strengths that you have that you can bring to a company. So just on this next slide is just an example of the core strengths that we look for. I'm pretty sure these are going to be similar to what a lot of different graduate firms are looking for. So good to get an idea of these kind of areas. However, today specifically, we are going to focus and give you a little bit more of an insight into what we think it means to have good communication skills, how to be a strong communicator, and kind of tips to improve these skills, especially in a virtual environment. So as it says on the screen here, our kind of definition of being a strong communicator says this goes beyond being a strong verbal and written communicator. It's the ability to adapt your communication style based on your audience and distill complex information into simple terms. This strength is highly valued by us because it means you're able to work with a variety of people. So at the bottom there, it just adds a little bit more information. So clearly articulated information and answers demonstrate that you've thought about the best way to share the information for your audience. So that audience can vary whether you're doing an interview, whether you are presenting to a room of uni students, for example. You have to kind of think about how to adapt your style to share the information with the audience. And when you have to answer a question, for example, in an interview, don't rush your thoughts. Give yourself time to think in verbal and written assessments. So that's just a little overview from our website. When we're saying that we're looking for certain strengths, such as a strong communicator, that's giving you an insight into what we think that actually means. And hopefully, that shows that it's not just written communication, it's also verbal communication and being able to adapt your communication style. I also wanted to show what an example of this strength, how we kind of test that in an application process, but also why communication is an important strength in a work situation. So in the application process, communication is one of the main strengths that we test throughout our recruitment process. It's really important to us and it will be important to a lot of graduate employers. So as I've said, this covers both verbal and written communication. So in our application process, we have recorded video interviews, we have writing business emails, we have live one-to-one interviews on Microsoft Teams. So throughout the process, you really will have to show you have communication skills in various different parts of that process. In terms of a work example, like why is it important, not just in the application process, but why are we testing that? Why do we think it's key for you to have good communication skills when you actually join a company like EY? So here it says, at EY, we don't necessarily sell a product, like an actual physical product. We sell our services to clients and our expertise. And this means that there's constant communication with our team and our clients to perform the work that is necessary to provide a quality service. So being able to communicate, and whether that's in person, which obviously used to be a lot more, or whether that's virtually, or whether that's in an email or kind of messages, then this skill is really important. So it really does span different kind of technology as well, whether you're having video calls or emails, you want to be able to communicate effectively in all those scenarios. So the top tips that I would recommend, I've split these into verbal communication and a virtual environment. I'm going to focus on those because that's what's really important right now, especially if you're applying for roles. And I've split it into written communication as well. So for verbal communication, if you're on an interview, for example, I think it's really important to make sure to speak clearly. And what I've put there as well is slowing down if you usually speak very fast. And this is relevant to me. I know that I'm from Glasgow, I have quite a strong accent. I usually speak really fast, but I know that when I'm doing presentations like these, or whether I'm going for an interview or whatever the context, that you need to be mindful that that person might not be from the exact same area. They might not, be able to keep up with what you're saying. So make sure to speak really clearly, make sure you're articulating what you want to say, and try and slow down a little bit, which I know is hard when you're nervous, but try and slow down if you usually speak very fast. Another good way to do it, that a lot of people don't like to do this, and I totally understand, nobody likes to watch themselves back, but it really is a great tip, is to try record yourself. So record yourself speaking or doing a presentation or however before an interview to see if you fidget, like do you play with your hair, did you have like a pen in your hand, did you have any kind of habits of saying too much, or or certain things that you might not notice that you say, but when you record yourself and rewatch it back, you then realise. So it's a really good skill to be able to record yourself and watch it back, and you might notice things that will help when it comes to a live interview. Another one which is really strange, which I struggle with as well, because we are all working virtually, we're all working on laptops, is to try to look into the camera. So find out where the camera is on the webcam on your laptop, and try to look into it, because that will give the illusion of eye contact. And obviously when you hear about going for normal interviews, eye contact is really important. It builds like a bond with you and the interviewer. So if you can look into that camera, and then you're replicating that as much as possible. So try and do that as well. Also, it's good to have notes. Sometimes you have things that you don't want to forget, that you really want to make sure you mention, little prompts, and it's fine to have notes, but don't have too many sitting like on a notepad next to you, because then your head will keep having to go up and down, and that will be distracting for the interviewer. So something that I would maybe recommend is, if you do have some key points that you want to mention, but you don't want to keep breaking the eye contact or looking down, is, if obviously don't have too many of these, but if you have a few, you could stick some post-it notes on the screen of your laptop in your line of vision, so that it's not distracting you too much. You can have a quick glance, and it reminds you to say those key points, but that would be very minimal. You don't want to have lots and lots of writing there, because it would be very distracting for you as well. In terms of written communication, I would say that's more on the kind of business emails. In our assessment process, you will be required to write a business email. So try and find some example email templates online, so like business writing emails, and use those as a template to, if you have to write one of those emails in an assessment, that you have a structure that you'd like to use. How do you want to start the email? What kind of language would you use? Quite formal. How would you sign off the email? So kind regards, best regards, something like that. So it's good to have an idea of what kind of template you'd like to use. And another one that sounds really obvious but really is key is make sure to always double check spelling and grammar. This is obviously really important. And if you are presenting something but it then has errors that you should have checked, then that can obviously make your work not look as professional, and then the person who's reviewing it might then have questions about your ability to do the job or whatever. So obviously when we're doing using Microsoft Office for emails, or if you're using Microsoft Word to write an essay, then you have spell check. So just make sure you're making the most of these to make your communication as clear as possible. So that's all my top tips. Obviously I'm not speaking too long today. I'm hoping though that gave you some information about what EY are looking for, what companies like EY are looking for, and how to prepare, and why communication is just so important these days, especially in this virtual environment where things are a lot different from what we're used to. As I said, we're at the What's Next conference next week, so join us next Monday, the 15th of March at 2 p.m. We're going to be speaking more about EY as a company, what kind of programs we have and how you could join us if that's something you're interested in. But we're also going to cover more tips on the application process, so not just communication, different to what I've spoke about today. So the online tests, assessment centres, like how can you be successful at recruitment processes like EYs, but also that a lot of graduate employers will have. So hopefully you'll find that really useful, and that's next week. So hopefully we'll see you there. I'll also just leave this on the screen. This is more information, our social media pages and things, if anyone wants to go and check this out before next week and maybe has some questions for us. But thanks so much for listening. We hope to see you next week at the conference, and yeah, thanks very much for listening.